Hi guys, just finished reassembling the two versions of the follower X-183 drone made by an unpronounceable Chinese company. So I just thought I'd put a little sort of mini review about what I think of them and the differences between the two versions. I thought you might be interested. Uh, this one here is the Wi-Fi single GPS version. Wi-Fi system, range roughly around about 60 meters around there, depending on terrain and environment. Has a single GPS. In other words, there's only one in the quad and there isn't a GPS unit in the transmitter. Still has the same telemetry. You've got battery voltage for the quadcopter and the transmitter, distance from takeoff, altitude. So basically 90% of the functions of the dual GPS version. Moving on to the dual GPS version. This is the only dual GPS version I've actually managed to get that is genuinely dual GPS. And I got it from GearBest. Everybody else's description seems to be a little bit wishy-washy. And it's possible to get these quadcopters that say dual GPS, but they aren't actually dual GPS. So now we've got one GPS unit in the transmitter and one in the quad. This is the 5.8 full FPV version. Comes with this rather nifty little screen. Not super high definition, rated at 720p according to the screen. Surprisingly, without an antenna, capable of quite a reasonable range. In a sort of open area, not so built up, you're probably going to be talking 70 to 100 meters, even without the antenna. So the built-in antenna must be quite efficient. The monitor runs on a 390mm battery, similar in size to the smaller Hubsan quadcopters, with a micro lossy connector. I think you can upgrade it to a 500 milliamp quite easy, which should give you a bit of screen time. But the actual screen isn't heavy on juice, so lasts quite a bit of time. GPS unit, as I say, built into the TX, still has the same telemetry as the other one. Quad voltage, transmitter voltage, height, distance from takeoff. So basically, that's that one. You could say to yourself, well, why should I have the dual GPS? Well, basically you gain follow me, which means obviously if you're on your mountain bike or something, the thing will follow you. But be aware there's no collision avoidance system, so you could well crash into a tree, which wouldn't look particularly good. And it also has circle me mode, so if you fancy doing a Sound of Music Julie Andrews job, it will do that. Both cameras, I believe, on both versions are 2 megapixel. Nothing super spectacular. They can be prone to jello if you don't balance the props. I'm using Cyma X8 props on both of these things, hence the orange colour. That's not standard, because nearly all of the actual drive system spares are compatible with the Cyma X8. That's why I'm using the orange props. And also, if you look underneath there, if I can get a focus on that, we have the undermotor nacelle, which I've taken directly from a Cyma X8 just to sort of brighten it up a little bit. Slightly different from the standard nacelle. Standard nacelle is a little bit deeper. I think the idea was that you could actually just land it on its belly without using the undercarriage. So basically that's one big advantage of these things, is that the spares are cheap because most of it's Cyma X8. Okay, yeah, it's a brushed system, but everyone thinks brushless are totally infallible and they're never going to break down. Well, that's not true, because you can lose the bearings in a brushless motor. Also, it's possible for the magnets to delaminate from the motor bell, and also you've got an electronic speed controller to think of. So if anything does go wrong, especially with a quad this size, it could be quite expensive. The way they fly, both fly very well. I've had this one out to 300 meters quite easily, I guess, with a Wi-Fi, 3 dB Wi-Fi antenna mod. you could be talking hobby ranges out of this thing, because it'll do 300 meters quite easily. And I guess, dare say, you could take it up to, say, 500-600 meters with a hobby grade Wi-Fi antenna conversion on the transmitter, because it seems to have quite a bit of poke. GPS accuracy, I can only describe it as excellent for a toy grade quad. You're talking easily 15 satellites per pop, and it locks very, very quickly. And once you do the advised compass calibration, which you only need to do once in one location, you know, they do fly very, very well without GPS assist, which is another thing I like about these things. They'll fly quite nicely, not as steady as a Cymer X8, but nevertheless, you know, quite nice indeed. And it's also good to have the option of turning on the GPS from the transmitter should you wish. Instructions, quite comprehensive. Just going to focus on that. Looks suspiciously like Cymer instructions. Quite a little bit of detail in there. One thing I will say is, with the dual GPS mode, you do lose headless mode, which really, you know, if you're flying something this big, you should really have learned how to fly it properly now, and you shouldn't really need to do that. So headless mode will not work on this one, but you retain it on this one, which does fly from a Wi-Fi app, and I do believe it has a voice control as well. So you get all the bells and whistles with the single GPS. And as mentioned, it's only the follow me and the circle me that makes the difference. So I suppose you could get by with the single GPS quite happily, as both of them will actually haul a sports cam quite easy, because you're basically talking Cymer X8. Batteries, 2000 milliamp. Again, Cymer X8 runs on the little red banana plug thingies. You could put a bigger battery and wouldn't really personally want to go over 2500 milliamps, even though the battery bay is very, very big, because being a brush system, you might be you know, pushing your luck on weight. But the battery bay is cavernous on these things, and you could build a VTX in there or whatever you wanted to do. All up weight, around about 630 grams. That's with the camera and the battery. That goes for both of them. Transmitters weigh slightly different. The one with the dual GPS weighs about 25 grams more than the other transmitter. Just trying to think of anything else. No, quite fond of them. Not particularly expensive to buy. As I say, I got this one from GearBest. This one I got off Fleabay. Again, it was described as a dual GPS, but it isn't. So be careful if you're going to buy off Fleabay. I do like the way they fly. The yaw is better than the Cymer X8, and you know, range is good. And really, you know, for the money, it's not a bad quad. So there you go, guys. If any questions, let me know. I'd be more than happy to try and answer them. Thanks for watching, and much appreciated. Cheers.